Now, pecan pie is a delicious thing, but when you add chocolate to the mix, it means business. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. Make chocolate pecan pie. Luscious, creamy chocolate, delicious nutty pecan nuts, and some pastry along the side. There's a lot of peeing going on. But anyway, it starts off with the pastry. And into our flour, we're going to add some cold butter. So nice cubes of cold butter. I'm also gonna add a little pinch of salt in here as well. And I'm using a pastry blender, but if you don't have one of these, just use your fingertips and press that butter into the flour until you have a nice sort of crumbly mixture. And now we are going to go in there with some cold water. So just about a tablespoon to bring it together. And you can kind of add it as you go because otherwise you will end up with too much water in there and it'll be too liquidy. Okay, this is coming together. It actually needs another touch of cold water, and this is actually ice cold water. Just mix that through. Scoop off that and get in there with your hand and just press it together. Once you press that, you should be left with a nice little dough like that. This now goes into the fridge and it's going to rest for about 15 to 20 minutes. My pastry has been resting in the fridge and now it is time to roll it out. And we're looking for about 5 millimeters in thickness. So I'm going to lift this across into a pie case. I have one with a fluted edge. If it does crack at all, just press it together. And I do have a few cracks, but you can seal them together just using your fingers. Once you've pressed the pastry in, just use a little butter knife and cut off any of that excess. This is looking good and it's ready to go into the oven, but before it does, I'm just going to prick it with a fork. The reason you do this is so that it doesn't puff up during the cooking time. And another thing to prevent that happening is some baking beans. I'm going to add some parchment paper just into the base of these. Stick in your baking beans. This now goes into the oven to bake off for about 12 minutes and you're looking for a slightly golden color on the outside. I'm going to stick it on a baking tray and cook it up. Once the pastry case has been in the oven for about 12 minutes, we're going to take out those baking beans very carefully. They do get a bit hot. And transfer these out while they're still hot into a bowl. They're going to cool down. This now goes back into the oven to cook for another 5 minutes, just until we get a nice even finish on the pastry case. The pastry case has come out of the oven. It's nice and golden brown and ready to be filled, so we need to talk about the filling. I have a pan of barely simmering water. We're going to melt down some butter and some chocolate. So I have some good quality dark chocolate going in there with the butter. And now I'm going to whisk up 2 eggs with some brown sugar. So 2 large free-range eggs. Give them a crack in there. Give it all a good mix up. This is looking pretty good, and I'm just going to check on my chocolate butter mixture. Just give it a good stir, and I actually think in the residual heat that's in that bowl, it's going to melt down. So I'm going to take it off, give it a last little stir, and this is going to go into our mixture. But before it does, we have some maple syrup and some allspice to go in here. The addition of the maple syrup here works extremely well with the pecan nuts. It has this wonderful sort of heady sweetness that is absolutely gorgeous. And I'm also adding a tiny pinch of allspice, which will make all the difference. So give that a good whisk up. And this is looking ready for our chocolate. I'm just going to gradually add it to our egg mixture, whisking all the while so it doesn't cook our eggs. Now we need to grab up our tart tin, and I'm going to transfer this mixture out. But before I do, I'm going to put half my pecan nuts across the bottom of the pie, and then we're going to save up some really nice ones just to decorate the top. I've got all my pecans across the base of this tart tin. Now I need to transfer this out, but I first need a spatula. So pour that straight over, and this is where it gets absolutely ridiculously delicious. Look at that. So make sure you get all those lovely bits out and in, and I think that's just enough. So decorate it up with some pecan nuts. Go right around the edges with these. This is where you do have to be a little bit more delicate and concentrate. Okay. This is looking pretty good now, so I'm going to transfer it out to a baking sheet. It's going to go into the oven at 180 degrees Celsius for about 35 minutes, just until it's puffed up and cooked all the way through. My tart has come out of the oven. It is baked off. It is beautiful. I mean, look at that. It is a proper showstopper of a dessert. So I'm going to slice out a little slice just to try some. It's so warm. Yeah, that is so good. You've got that wonderful nuttiness. You've got this really rich, intense sweetness and that crumbly pastry. It is so good. If you want the recipe for this wonderful chocolate pecan tart, you can find it out in the box below over on my website. Make sure to subscribe to this channel for lots more delicious baking recipes. Leave me a comment letting me know if you are going to make this lovely tart. Give us a like and a share. And of course, check out all my social media, which will be on the screen right now. Until then, my friends, happy baking, and I'll see you soon. And now I'm going to transfer this out, but I do need a spatula. Timing, comic timing, come on. It smells so good. Oh, it's really hot, don't do that. This is not for the outtakes. 5 millimeters in thickness, about the thickness of a £2 coin. Something like that, just roll it out, okay? It now needs to rest in the fridge for about 15 to 20 minutes, just until it's relaxed and all the flour in there has no longer been worked. I actually look like Jim out of Rosie and Jim.